home runs are up in Major League Baseball because of what? The number one reason.
I know where you want me to. I know where you want me to go with this. I got the baseballs. I mean, I that's it. I'm going to give you my honest answer.
Okay.
I think the baseball is a little bit. Yeah, I got baseballs.
What does "yeah" mean?
I don't want to get so much into it. I mean, because I don't want to discount the players, because I do think that the players are bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been. There's an intent to really slug more than there ever has been. So you layer that on with the baseballs, I think obviously that's going to lead to a bigger number as well.
So juiced without saying juiced is what we're talking about.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Yeah, but I just, can you tell the difference? Is it physical where you can hold it? If you bounce it? Is it the sound of it leaving the bat?
I think that in talking to pitchers, the field's different. In talking to hitters when they don't hit a baseball as well as they think they did, and it goes a distance that, as a hitter, when you get it and when you don't. But I've just heard many times over when I didn't get it and it carried, 10 seats into the stands. So that just kind of, for me, you hear that and you listen. But as far as the bouncing or the sound, not as much that.
Yeah, because I heard Rick Sutcliffe talk about this, and he's one of the smartest guys I know when it comes to pitching, and he talked about the seams, that they're different than they've been before. I don't know if we're trying to create more offense here. It feels like every sport wants to create more offense, and baseball would, I guess, be in line. I miss the small things in baseball, Dave. I really do. Like your role nowadays in baseball, I don't know what that role would be. It'd be different, but I miss the extra base. I miss, hit and run. I miss bunting. I like movement in the game. Nobody's stealing, 70 bases anymore. How do we get that back? Do we need that back in baseball?
Well, I think that's a fair question. And I think for me, the baseball purist, that's exactly what brought us to the game. And I think that you're talking about the cerebral, the thinking part of the game, the strategy part of the game that I absolutely love. But, when there's you're talking about the audience that right now, could you argue that more people would rather see a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and 450-foot homers than a sacrifice bunt or a hit and run or throwing over 3 times to have a guy steal second base? I mean, but for me, for you, for the purists, absolutely. But I think that it's talking about viewerships, and I don't complain about a 3-hour game because for me is when there's a pitcher's duel or when there's strategies or whatever it might be, bullpen management, matchups, I love that stuff. But I think that the general fan these days, I don't know if they would say the same thing as you and I.
But remember when you struck out 100 times, Dave? I mean, you were...
I didn't strike out 100 times.
No, not you.
I'm joking.
No. Paulie, check and see how many times, what's the most Dave Roberts struck out in a season?
Fact check.
Yeah. But if you struck out 100 times in a season, you were embarrassed. Like, you had the scarlet letter on you. Now, it's almost like that's the badge of courage. Like, oh, you only got punched out 100 times? I got punched out 187 times. Bryce Harper's one of the best players in the game. He's going to strike out 200 times this year. How does that happen?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a compensation part of it where obviously these players are getting compensated with slug, and that's kind of equated to production, and where I do think the needle is going to shift back. You see Cody Bellinger, for example, that you'd mentioned earlier, as shortening up and using the other part of the field, and I think that our guys in particular do a really good job of minimizing the strikeouts. And one of the best players, one of the guys that I really love to watch, Mookie Betts. He's 1-to-1 strikeout to walk. So there's guys in there that they've got to make a concerted effort to minimize the punch. But I still think that to win games, to not make outs, that's the point of offense, and that's how you score runs.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.